There is a question that has bothered orthopedic researchers for decades. Why do Japanese seniors in their 70s and 80s walk with steadier legs, fall less often, and maintain their independence far longer than their American counterparts, even when their overall muscle mass is actually lower? The answer is not genetics. It is not some exotic supplement. It is something hiding in plain sight inside the daily routines, the homes, and the cultural habits of an entire nation. And once you understand it, you will never look at your living room chair the same way again. Here is the number that stopped me cold. A cross-cultural nursing home study found that fall rates over 6 months were nearly 4 times higher in American residents than in Japanese residents. 49% versus 13%. Not a small difference, a catastrophic one. And the researchers pointed directly at one underlying cause: the way Japanese seniors use their legs every single day without ever setting foot in a gym. In this video, I am going to walk you through the exact mechanisms behind this gap. I will show you the hidden leg training built into Japanese daily life, the national health concept that most Americans have never heard of, and the precise exercises that Japanese orthopedic associations prescribe to seniors at home. By the end, you will have a clear, actionable protocol you can start today. No equipment, no gym membership, and no dramatic lifestyle overhaul required. But first, I need to destroy a belief that is quietly costing millions of older Americans their independence. Most people assume that if you are active, if you walk every day, if you keep moving, your legs will stay strong. That belief is dangerously incomplete, and the gap between what you think is protecting you and what is actually happening in your body is exactly where falls begin. Here is the biological reality. Your leg muscles are not one uniform tissue. They are made up of different fiber types. Slow-twitch fibers handle endurance. Your daily walk recruits these. But fast-twitch power fibers are what save you when you stumble. They are what fire in the fraction of a second between a trip and a fall. And they atrophy, they shrink and disappear at a rate that walking simply cannot stop. Japanese researchers identified something remarkable in nursing home populations. There is a specific quadriceps strength threshold, approximately 1.28 Newton meters per kilogram of body weight, that sharply separates people who fall from people who do not. Below that threshold, the risk of falling climbs steeply. Above it, protection is strong. Most American seniors have no idea this threshold exists. Most have never been tested against it, and most have been told that walking is enough, when in fact, walking does almost nothing to keep them above that critical line. So how do Japanese seniors stay above it? The answer begins on the floor. This is the part that most Western health advice completely misses. In traditional Japanese homes, life happens at floor level. Meals are eaten at low tables. Sleep happens on futons rolled out each night and stored each morning. Guests sit on tatami mats. Objects are stored close to the ground. There are no deep sofas to sink into, no high chairs to collapse onto. What this means, biomechanically, is extraordinary. Every single day, a Japanese senior performs dozens of what I would call functional mini-squats. Getting down to a futon and back up, lowering to a floor cushion for a meal and rising again, reaching for an object stored near the ground. Each of these transitions requires the quadriceps, the glutes, and the calves to fire under load. Each one is, in clinical terms, a partial squat or a hip hinge. Researchers writing in PLOS 1 noted that lifelong squatting habits in traditional Japanese lifestyles may partly explain differences in gait performance between Japanese and Western adults, even when overall muscle mass is lower, but the functional strength is higher, because it is trained constantly through the architecture of daily life itself. And then there is the toilet. Japanese-style squat toilets force the user into a deep squat position, placing significant body weight through the thighs and calves every single time. Even popular health media in Japan acknowledges that this daily ritual naturally strengthens the leg muscles and discourages the passive, prolonged sitting that weakens them. Compare that to the average American bathroom visit, a passive sit on a raised toilet seat that requires almost zero muscular effort. Multiply that difference across every day of a decade and you begin to understand the gap. There is even a concept in Japanese home management called floor hygiene, the daily practice of wiping, organizing, and storing objects near the ground because of tatami flooring and low furniture. Every time a Japanese senior bends to wipe a surface, retrieve an item, or arrange belongings at floor level, they are performing a hip hinge, a knee bend, a functional movement that loads the posterior chain. None of this shows up in a step counter. None of it is captured by standard Western exercise advice. But it is constant, it is heavy enough to matter, and it accumulates over a lifetime. Now let me introduce you to a concept that Japan built an entire national health campaign around: and that most Americans have never encountered. In Japan, there is a diagnostic category called locomotive syndrome, or LOCOMO for short. It was created by the Japanese Orthopedic Association to describe the progressive decline of the hip, knee, and ankle system that leads to loss of independence, not just weakness, not just balance problems. The entire locomotive apparatus, the bones, joints, muscles, and nerves that allow you to move through the world under your own power. Japan did not just name this syndrome, they built public awareness campaigns around it. They ran television spots, local governments launched programs, companies organized workplace initiatives. Awareness of locomotive syndrome in the general Japanese population jumped from 17.3% in 2012 to 48.1% by 2018. Nearly half of the entire country now knows by name the syndrome they are working to prevent. That cultural awareness translates directly into behavior. People take preventive action earlier, they train their legs before problems appear, and they see leg strength not as a vanity metric, but as the foundation of their future independence. And the Japanese Orthopedic Association did not just raise awareness, they prescribed a specific home exercise protocol. 4 movements. Performed daily. Designed to maintain the hip-knee-ankle system in older adults. I am going to give you that protocol now with the exact mechanism behind each movement. The first movement is single leg standing with eyes open. You stand on one foot for up to 60 seconds, then switch. This sounds almost embarrassingly simple, but do not underestimate it. Single leg balance requires your ankle stabilizers, your perineal muscles, your deep hip abductors, and your entire proprioceptive system to fire simultaneously. Japanese health centers now use single leg balance time as one of 3 key predictors of who will soon need long-term care. The other 2 are the timed up and go test and the 5 times sit to stand test. If you cannot hold single leg balance for at least 10 seconds with eyes open, your fall risk is clinically elevated. Start there, build toward 30 seconds, build toward 60. The second movement is the half squat. Stand with feet shoulder width apart. Lower your hips until your knees are bent at approximately 45 degrees. Not a full squat, a half squat. Pause for 2 seconds at the bottom. Rise slowly. The Japanese Orthopedic Association prescribes this in sets of 10, twice daily. The mechanism is direct. This movement recruits fast-twitch fibers in the quadriceps and glutes. It trains the exact strength pattern that catches you when you stumble. A randomized trial of a traditional Japanese squat-based routine, performed just 5 minutes a day, 4 days a week, found that knee extension strength increased by approximately 26% in 3 months compared to roughly 2.5% in the control group. 26% versus 2.5%. That is the difference between a movement that actually changes your legs and one that merely maintains the illusion of activity. The third movement is the heel raise. Stand behind a chair, hold the backrest lightly for balance, and rise onto the balls of both feet. Hold for 2 seconds at the top. Lower slowly over 3 to 4 seconds. Your calves are, in the language of vascular medicine, your second heart. They pump blood back up against gravity every time they contract. But more relevant to leg strength and fall prevention, the gastrocnemius and soleus are critical for push-off power, the force that propels each step forward, and the reactive strength that stabilizes your ankle in an uneven surface. Perform 15 repetitions, twice daily. The fourth movement is the front lunge. Step 1 foot forward, lower your back knee toward the ground, then return to standing. Alternate legs. This movement trains the deceleration strength of the quadriceps, the ability to control your body as it moves forward, which is precisely the strength that fails when someone trips on a threshold or a curb and cannot arrest their forward momentum fast enough to prevent a fall. Now I want to show you something about the cultural layer that makes all of this work, because exercises alone, prescribed on paper, are not enough. The Japanese system surrounds these movements with an entire social and environmental architecture that makes them almost inevitable. Let me tell you about Radio Taiso. Since 1928, Japan has broadcast a 3-minute morning exercise routine over national radio. It reaches approximately 97% of the population. The exercises involve large arm swings, forward bends, and small jumps. Research has measured the intensity at approximately 4 to 4.5 m-eats, the equivalent of brisk walking. But what Radio Taiso does that a walk cannot is load the bones from multiple directions, challenge lateral balance, and deliver impact forces that stimulate bone density. Seniors do it in parks, in community centers, in front of their television sets. It is 3 minutes, it costs nothing, and it has been a daily habit for generations. Then consider the Japanese transportation environment. In Japan, many healthy adults, including older adults, choose to stand near priority seating on trains rather than sit, because social norms make it the respectful choice when seats are available for those who need them more. Every commute becomes an isometric leg workout. Every stop and start on the train requires micro adjustments of balance, ankle stability, and core engagement. Standing is the default. Sitting is the exception. And consider the terrain. A study of Japanese older adults found that simply living in steeper neighborhoods, areas with more hills, was consistently associated with longer daily walking time. The calves and thighs are trained automatically by the landscape. Rural Japanese life adds what researchers have called hidden leg days. A Tohoku study found that both farming work and seasonal snow removal were independently associated with lower sarcopenia risk, and doing both together gave the strongest protection against age-related muscle loss. The environment itself becomes the gym. This brings me to the step count data, and the number that I think every American senior needs to hear. Pedometer comparisons show that Japanese adults average approximately 7,200 steps per day. American adults average roughly 5,100 to 6,500. But American seniors, specifically Stauber-Dosisen, measured in a large NHANES sample, managed only about 4,241 steps per day. That is nearly 3,000 fewer loading cycles for the legs every single day. Multiply that by 365 days. Multiply it by a decade. The cumulative deficit in leg loading is staggering, and a large meta-analysis across countries found that for adults over 60, the mortality benefit of daily steps plateaus at approximately 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day, almost exactly where Japanese health guidelines sit. Many Japanese seniors quietly live inside the protective zone. Many American seniors fall thousands of steps short of it every single day. Now I want to give you the ethical check-in that this information demands. You may be sitting with some frustration right now, perhaps even some anger, at a healthcare system that told you walking was enough, at a culture that designed your home around passive sitting, at years of advice that never mentioned any of this. That frustration is valid, but frustration without action changes nothing. What matters now is what you do with this information. And the good news is that the gap between where you are and where Japanese seniors are is not filled with expensive equipment or extreme discipline. It is filled with small, consistent movements performed in the right way. Here is what I want you to do this week. I want you to steal 5 specific habits from Japanese senior culture, and I'm going to give them to you precisely. First, perform the 4-movement Locomo protocol every single day. Single leg standing, 60 seconds each side, half squats, 10 repetitions twice daily, heel raises, 15 repetitions twice daily, front lunges, 10 repetitions each leg, once daily. This is the protocol prescribed by the Japanese Orthopedic Association. It takes less than 10 minutes. It directly targets the fast twitch fibers and the balance systems that walking ignores. Second, use the 5 times sit to stand as both a test and a daily drill. Stand up from a chair 5 times in a row without using your arms. Time yourself. In Japanese health centers, this simple test, combined with single leg balance and the timed up and go, predicts who will need long-term care before the need becomes visible. But it is also a training movement. Perform it 3 times a day. Every chair to standing transition in your home is an opportunity. Take it. Third, lower your furniture, or at least lower yourself. You do not need to sleep on a futon, but you can sit on the floor for 10 minutes while you watch television. You can store frequently used items at lower levels so you bend to retrieve them. You can eat 1 meal a week at a low coffee table, seated on a cushion on the floor. Each of these choices forces your legs to perform the functional movements that tatami culture builds in automatically. Fourth, add 3,000 steps. Not all at once. Not in one long walk. Japanese research on older adults shows that the most protective activity pattern is not long gym sessions. It is brief, incidental movement accumulated throughout the day. Walk to the mailbox and back. Walk to a neighbor. Take the slightly longer route. Add 10 minutes of movement to 2 or 3 points in your day. That is how you close the step count gap without overhauling your life. Fifth, stand more. On public transport, in your kitchen while you wait for water to boil, during phone calls. Standing activates your postural muscles, loads your ankle stabilizers, and burns approximately 50 calories per hour more than sitting. It is not exercise. It is the baseline of a body that stays strong. The research is unambiguous. Sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and function, affects roughly 9 to 11% of community-dwelling older adults globally. But in high-risk Western populations, that figure can reach 70%. Culture and environment can either buffer or accelerate the exact same biological process. Japanese seniors are not exempt from aging. They are protected from its worst consequences by a system of daily habits so deeply embedded in their culture that most of them do not even recognize it as exercise. Now you do. The quadriceps strength threshold that separates fallers from non-fallers in Japanese nursing home research is 1.28 Newton meters per kilogram. That number is not destiny, it is a target. And every half squat, every heel raise, every time you stand up from a chair without reaching for the armrest, you are moving toward it. If this video gave you something you did not know before, a number, a concept, a habit you can actually use, please give it a thumbs up. It helps this channel reach more people who need exactly this kind of information. And if you have a parent, a spouse, or a friend who is quietly losing leg strength and does not know why, share this video with them. It may be the most important 12 minutes they spend this week. Leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 5 habits are you going to start first? I read every comment, and I will respond. Your independence is not something that disappears overnight. It is built or lost one daily choice at a time. Make the right ones starting today.